Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 9th November, 2021. Coming up on the Crusty Canuck podcast, a very special episode 156, Remembrance 2021. Never in vain. I will always remember. I'm going to reflect on some of my experiences overseas, talk about what Remembrance Day means to me, and hopefully shed some light on the chaos that we're experiencing in this country right now as we speak. All that and more come at the podcast. Please stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, episode 156, a very, very special episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. I tend to use some swear words, and there'll be some audio coming up later with a lot of profanity in it, needless to say. If you're liking here to see, please click like and subscribe and share this all around your social media platforms. There won't be so much visual today. There'll just be pictures for you. So I'll do some video a bit later in the show, but needless to say, this is what you're going to see right now, ladies and gentlemen. I know I said last episode there was going to be some scheduling differences with my employment. They changed the schedule around, so I had the ability to make an episode today. And I figured, why not? Let's do a Remembrance Day special, because I'll be working Remembrance Day, oddly enough. But still, here we are, episode 156 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Remembrance. Now, when I look at Remembrance Day, all my natural life, Remembrance Day has been an important day for me. From my grandfathers that served in World War II, to a distant relative that served in the Boer War, to a distant uncle that apparently served in Korea, and not to mention the people I've met over the years that served in certain peacekeeping operations, as well as having the honor of meeting some Vietnam veterans who happen to be Canadian, who volunteered with the American services back in the late 60s and did their part for what they thought was right. When I look at Remembrance Day, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't faze me what color or creed anybody is. It doesn't faze me what gender or what identity or who they sleep with. I look at every Canadian, whether it be First Nation, whether it be Asian, whether it be East Indian, Sikh, Pakistani, English, Scottish, Irish, Portuguese, Spanish, Polish, Ukrainian, Hungarian, Russian. Everybody that took up an arm for this country and served in World War I and II in Korea and other operations and other peacekeeping operations and operations that felt dear to their heart. I pay homage to those individuals, every man, woman, and child that took up an arm or forced to take up arms or thought that's what they had to do for a greater good. So we were told, so we were thought, what we were, what we were taught to think. When I look at our history, yes, we have a history of bloody chaos. We also have a history of bloody progress too. When I look at Canada, I think of not just my home and native land, I think of my home, where my heart is. You've heard me ramble on more than enough times, ladies and gentlemen, in regards to how much I love this nation. And the past year and a half with the COVID issue and the vaccine issues, and the constant promoted racial divides that are constantly being thrown down our throats every day, I can see why it gets hard for people to focus on the important things. To me, the important things is your health, your friends, your family, and your well-being. And that's for everybody too, regardless of what your background is, regardless of where your heritage lies or where it doesn't lie, where it once was or where it is now. The welfare of yourself and your family is the utmost importance. Longevity, prosperity, right? You want to see your loved ones excel. You want to see your loved ones get ahead. You want to see your kids graduate high school and college and get that perfect job and get that perfect car, that perfect home, and have that perfect spouse and have that perfect life that we all dream of one way or the other. Like we've all been told to dream of from the time we were born to the time we start counting on our fingers, from the time we start reading our first novel to the time we start thinking about what colleges and universities we have to go to. Those last years of high school to where we are now, I'm not making fun of anybody who has pursued academic excellence or financial excellence. I'm not making fun of anybody here. This is not one of those episodes where I'm going to criticize individuals who take it upon themselves to enjoy their freedom and to embrace it and to encourage it. But this Remembrance Day, let's reflect and let's remember those individuals that gave their lives, all colors and creeds, from the Cree to the Ojibwe to the Mohawks, the Iroquois, Micmac, to the Blackfoot, to the Crow, to the Blood, to the Irish Canadians, to the English Canadians, to the Scottish Canadians, to the French Canadians, to the Polish Canadians, Ukrainian Canadians, Russian Canadians, Sikh Canadians, East Indian Canadians, Pakistani Canadians, Chinese Canadians, Japanese Canadians, you name it. All Canadians, colors and creeds that saved themselves for the final sacrifice or the ultimate sacrifice or prepared themselves for that sacrifice. Yours truly spent some time in Afghanistan, 2003 and 4 and 2007. Yours truly knows a few people that are out here with us today because of the war in Afghanistan and because of what happened to themselves, from the experiences they encountered to the demons they carried with them. Yours truly also carries a few demons still to this day. Some of those demons almost slayed me back in 2014. However, with the love of my wife and people that actually stood up and gave a shit about what they were doing, gave me some insight, gave me some hope. And that's why I'm here today, ladies and gentlemen, presenting this video submitted for your approval. Remembrance Day to me is not just a day where we can put on our old uniforms and gab and chew the fat over this experience and that experience. And it's not a celebration by any means. It's a gathering of like-minded people to honor and respect those people who fell before us. Now, I've dealt with people since debuting this podcast, some really nasty comments I've had. I should have saved some of those emails, but needless to say, here's an example of one. You didn't fight for my freedom. Who are you to tell me what I should honor and not honor? Firstly, I don't tell you to honor anything other than what you want to honor. And secondly, you have the freedom to honor what you desire because of people like, well, myself, who wanted to fight, who stood up to the plate, to my grandfathers that stood up to the plate too, especially at a time when it was really, really needed to fight a necessary evil like fascism and communism. To my American friends who did the exact same thing, regardless if it was for Korea or for Vietnam or the Gulf War. We all know about the lies and the tricks of the trade and everything, but there were still men and women in both of our countries that were willing to lay down their lives, whether it be for the idea of freedom or the actual gesture of freedom. And I thank you all deeply, and I honor you deeply for the commitments and the sacrifices and the demons you have slayed in said process. When I look back at Remembrance Day and look on Remembrance Day, I do remember. I remember the jokes and the laughs I had with my section commanders, the jokes and the laughs we had with our medic, with my captain, with my warrant officer, with other radio operators that were with me during that year. I remember one individual where he lost his life, and I saw the explosion that killed him. And it wasn't gory, it wasn't dramatic, it was just like that. How else do I explain it? I remember him mentoring me on my radio and how the finer points of keeping the antenna in place and the fine points of programming it. And you are forever missed, my friend. And you are forever remembered. And that's the thing about Remembrance Day, ladies and gentlemen. We have to keep remembering and keeping that honor alive.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Also, I have a special thank you out there for those individuals the past week that have actually donated. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very much. And you didn't give me a name, so I can't really mention your name without a name on it. But thank you. If you're listening right now, thank you once again for those donations. They helped out a lot, actually, believe it or not, getting things sorted out So once again, to those people that donated, give yourself a pat in the back. And please keep donating if you like to. There'll be links in the description and in liner notes too, where you can donate if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to, but please consider it too. But back to Remembrance, not in vain. And now we all know in the news how the Americans, Canadians, and the Brits alike pulled out of Afghanistan and left one hell of a fucking mess there. Pardon my swearing. But we all know what that story was and how it affected a lot of us too. And I remember sitting and having some conversations with some of my fellow Afghan vets discussing the whole procedure and the politics of it all. And to summarize it, ladies and gentlemen, it's just one effing nightmare. Just one bloody nightmare with red tape, with other bureaucracies and bureaucrats, people hobgobbling here and hobgobbling there. And you would almost think that what we did in that country was in vain. One would think that. The average Joe, the average Josephine would just go, was it really worth all that money and effort? There's a few people that are not with us today who would beg to differ. What I remember of being in that country was the heat, not just the weather, not just the temperature, but the heat. You could feel the heat. You could feel more than the average person could, from getting off the plane in Kandahar to smelling the infamous sulfur lake, or the poo cloud we used to call it. Almost like a proverbial shovel giving you a smack right in the jaw as soon as you hit the tarmac. Nothing but that overwhelming stench of sulfur and human fecal matter polluting our nostrils as we took one step forward into Kandahar Airport to get our gear and get ready to go to our dwellings, per se. It's funny when I think back from 2007, the adventures that I had and the friends that I made and the contacts I'm still in touch with today, how we can still sit and laugh and joke about some of the most hideous things we saw and still feel pain over them too. I look at our history as one of great, great things. And regardless of what has come to surface the past year or 2 years, ladies and gentlemen, especially here in Canada with the issues with the First Nations schools, the residential school and all that, the truth will be out there. We just got to find it. To my First Nation brothers and sisters that stood alongside every member of the armed forces, a special hats off to you too. But when I look at a member of the Canadian Forces, I don't look at the color. I don't look at their gender. I look at the uniform and what it represented and what it still represents to me today. Honor, respect, courage, dignity, pride, unity, and a love of nation. So contrary to the myth that's being taught in a lot of schools today, especially in the post-secondary areas too, it's not a crime to love your nation. We're constantly being bombarded with identities and who identifies as this and what identifies as what and who is she and who is he. What are they? Can we not say that we are Canadians? Can our friends to the South, can they not say they're Americans? Can our friends over in Europe say they're not British or French or German or Polish or Russian or Hungarian or Ukrainian or Belarusian, right? Or Latvian or Estonian or Finnish or Swedish or Norwegian or Danish or Icelandic? Can we not say welcome anymore? With all this hype about who's speaking what language and who isn't. Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, correction, not Prime Minister, I'm thinking too far ahead. Maybe she is, I don't know. Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, the pint size, you know what? Having the audacity of giving a CEO of a multinational corporation a hard time because not speaking French properly. Or not speaking enough French. Who is she to criticize anyone's efforts when she is almost single-handedly herself taking a lot of Canadian money and giving it away to everyone but Canadians? Same as our Prime Minister sitting around discussing the whole fact about let's abolish fossil fuels. Let's get rid of Canadian fossil fuels So the only people that can buy it are the well-to-do and naysayers of Canadian progress. Meanwhile, Canadians are stuck with $10 or $12 barrels of inhumane oil that's brought to you by countries such as Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, Venezuela, and other third world conglomerates that treat women and children like cattle. Is that what us Canadians fought for, ladies and gentlemen? Is that the freedom we fought for? To my American friends, is that the freedom you fought for? To my British friends, is that the freedom you fought for? Every major conflict, World War I and II in Korea, Canadians, Brits, and Americans stood side by side, along with Australians and New Zealanders and other members of the United Nations at that time. During the Vietnam War, roughly about 25 to 30,000 Canadians signed up with American services to fight that war against communism, so they were told. The gentleman that I've spoken to personally signed up because they thought that was the thing to do. And they did it, and they came back, luckily. Some didn't. But some learnt the hard lesson about sacrifice. Well, some did, and some didn't. But needless to say, there were men and women in both of our countries, in all the countries that I mentioned, that stood up and did what they thought was right. And all the more reasons to represent and to respect this sacred day, regardless of color or creed or identity or political belief or what party you have fucking homage to. How about the maple leaf there in the background? Is that worth still having homage to? I believe so. I believe so. I believe it's still worth fighting for, regardless of how you feel about it. There is a history of this country where we were inhumane and unfair and unkind. But I can tell you stories about my personal life where I dealt with authority figures that were just as humane and bloody unkind too, all based on the simple fact that I could not skate as fast as one individual or run as fast as a few other individuals. Right? But that's a different story, ladies and gentlemen. Needless to say, I stood up at the fucking plate and did my goddamn job to the best of my fucking ability. And so did the other men and women that did the deed, where they took up a rifle or a radio, or took up a map and compass, or watched a radar screen, or listened, right? Or set up a gun, or set up a truck, or set up an aircraft. All shapes and sizes, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of men and women committed the ultimate sacrifice November the 11th. All right. That's a day where we have to reflect. This Remembrance Week is a matter of reflection and remembering those individuals that committed the ultimate sacrifice. It didn't matter if they were straight, didn't matter if they were gay, didn't matter if they were First Nations, didn't matter if they were Chinese, Japanese, didn't matter if they were Catholic or Protestant or Jehovah or Jewish or Muslim. What mattered is they put on the cloth and carried the colors of the nation proudly to the best of their ability. And we have to remember that and respect that. Regardless of who's calling the shots in Ottawa or Montreal or Toronto, regardless, can you honestly sit there and ask yourself, do these individuals that are telling me what to believe in, have they prepared themselves for any kind of sacrifice other than a brief inconvenience because of fossil fuels or because of inflation taxes they keep promoting? Or the racial divide they keep promoting in the name of pulling a race card or a gender card just to get ahead because they think they deserve something without any fucking merit. Needless to say, ladies and gentlemen, look at that picture. That represents every soldier. And that flag represents this country. This country. Our home and native land. Period. Those individuals that are still hurting and suffering from the yesteryears. My heart goes to you. It does. To those individuals that have witnessed and incurred the heinous crimes of the residential schools, my sincerest apologies. But we have to move on and we have to move forward. I'm not telling you to forget anything because I don't forget my past, and neither should you. But we shouldn't sit in our pity puddles and worry all the time because some government official refuses to acknowledge. If we're going to find the truth and reconciliation, let us start getting to the truth. I'm with yous. I want the truth too. But needless to say, we always have to remember and stand firmly for what is right.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Carrying on with more standing firmly too on this Remembrance Week of 2021. I don't look back at that tour or those tours as ones in vain. I don't. Personally, I do not. The way the mainstream media twists it around, the way the politicians twist it around. Oh, it's no big deal. Oh, it's no issue. You guys did your part. You did well. Thank you for your service. I've heard that numerous times, and a few times, especially during my election campaign, when I was trying to win a seat in Parliament for this riding. I had a few sincere people come up and say, thank you very much for your service. We had no idea. Even some of my opponent's spouses come around and give me a pat on the back and said, thank you very much for your time served. You know, we're happy to see you here. And to me, that was genuine, ladies and gentlemen. That was fucking fantastic. But I've also heard numerous times too this past year, a lot of condescending terms and in condescending tone and fashion. Oh, thank you for your service. Yeah. You can almost just hear it. Click, just like that. Okay? You can almost hear it. How condescending that twat waffle and or twat waffles are when it comes to dealing with people that have actually served, that have seen action, who have done things, who have overcome insurmountable odds to reach their goal. And then you hear some bureaucrat, oh, thank you for your service. Yeah, I don't believe you. And a lot of my brothers and sisters are starting to see that light too. I need to say, when I look at this picture here of that soldier kneeling in front of fallen comrades, boots, rifle, and helmet, that speaks volumes, ladies and gentlemen. It always has, and it always will. I think for the rest of my years, it will speak volumes. I'll never forget. I'll never forget the sounds, the cracks and thumps, some of the screams, the orders, the smell. I'll never forget those days. I'll never forget those hours or those minutes where I'm thinking, fuck, am I going to buy it today? Are my friends going to buy it today? What's the contingency plan if my captain goes down? What's the plan if I go down? What's the plan if the sergeant major goes down? What's the plan? Constantly going through my head, little routines and little SOPs. But I'm here now to say, yeah, I did that. And regardless of what people think about warfare, it is fucking ugly. But sometimes it's a necessary evil, ladies and gentlemen. And all the more the reasons to honor and respect those who are willing to commit that sacrifice, who are willing to commit their lives to make sure that ugliness doesn't come here. When I look at Canada, my home, and like I've said, my home and native land, I look at the opportunities that have been bestowed on us prior to our births, prior to our parents' births, prior to our grandparents' births, and in some cases, our great-grandparents' births. The odds that individuals overcame. I cannot fix the past. So for anybody of a certain group or a certain conglomerate or a certain identity points fingers at me and says, you must recognize your privilege. Maybe you should recognize your prejudice before you ever condemn my so-called optical privilege. I've had to work for everything in my life. I had to work to get a house. I had to work to get somewhat of a decent education. I had to work to get my ass into the military, and I had to work in the military to get where I was going to go. I had a plan to become an NCO, and I did. I had a plan to become a senior NCO, so I did. How else do I say it? I had no plans to become an officer. I had no plans to become sergeant major. But goals were achievable. But it took work, sweat, and dedication. And not just the administrative dedication, i.e., write the papers, make the grade, drive the body, shoot the foot, but put up a lot of bullshit from people too. And you get that in any job, ladies and gentlemen, regardless. But when someone says to me, you better recognize your privilege. Well, okay, let's recognize the privileges this country has given to a lot of people. A lot of people, all colors and creeds, all shapes and sizes, all identities, all spectrums, all educational levels, and all social levels. So the moment someone says, recognize your privilege, maybe they should recognize their prejudice. Right? And then watch them chew their words as you laugh at them hysterically.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I have some audio here I'm going to play for you all. As an act of remembrance, not a cheesy bagpipe solo or nothing like that, not like condemning what beautiful pipers do, but I just want to give you, my civilian listeners out there too, an insight on how it sounds. Okay. Now, I'm not going to promote I'm not going to put the actual video up and put the audio up, but I want you to listen to every crack and thump and every bang and crash, and especially some of the dialogue at the end, please, if you can. And close your eyes while you're listening too, please, because it has a little more effect that way, ladies and gentlemen, a little more effect. And it's going to start with you to understand and to spread this beautiful podcast around if you can too. But just give you some insight on how things work and what a day or a moment or an hour of battle can do to one. Just a little bit of insight. So please pay attention.
Bravo with me! Let's go! We're gonna find a way over! Let's go, Bravo! Oh, for fuck! How are they doing on the right? What are they doing on the right? Ready up, Ben?
All compounds on fire in front of us.
Right down! Take that first crew across! Get across! Watch the back! We're taking road! Right on, boys. They're definitely going to wonder who the Canadians are from here on out, that's for sure.
That gives you some insight, ladies and gentlemen, on some of the experiences that I encountered and some of my fellow brethren, brothers and sisters alike. That was taken from a battle in 2006. Now, I'm not going to mention any names or display their faces out of the sake of security and privacy. But needless to say, pardon the audio, but I'm not going to mention their names out of their privacy and respect for their privacy. But that is a taste of it. Okay. To my civilian friends who have never encountered anything like that, other than watching the odd video game or the odd war movie, that gives you an insight. Okay. I didn't have a lot of pictures to back it up because I didn't want to show any gore. I didn't want to show any relevance in regards to the chaos that one can feel and see in battle. But when you look at the picture there in my video here, Canada with poppies, that's what we did. Okay. And regardless of what the political agenda is today, whether you believe in the big reset or the great reset or the build back better bullshit that's constantly being rammed down our throats in the name of protecting the environment, there are people who laid their asses on the line in every major conflict, all colors and creeds, ladies and gentlemen. I've said numerous times here in the podcast, I was not raised in a household where I judge people based on the color of their skin. I judge people based on their character and how they treat others. And it doesn't matter if they're First Nations, doesn't matter if they're white, doesn't matter if they're black, doesn't matter if they're Asian, doesn't matter if they're from the Philippines or East India or India in general or Bangladesh or Pakistan. It doesn't matter if they're from Africa. It doesn't matter if they're from Europe. Treating people with kindness and courtesy goes a long fucking way. And let's just hope to God that courtesy will still be allowed in this country in the years to come. Because based on the performances that I have seen from our leadership in the past 3, 6, 10 years, I'm not seeing a lot of them leading that example. But in that audio I played for you just recently, there were plenty of examples in there of good, solid individuals that were willing to stand up for what's right in this country. And the bitter reality is that some of them might have to commit it again, including yours truly. And I don't want to. I don't want to go back to that place again. I don't want to go back to that place where I'm constantly going through plans. What's going to happen if I go down? What's going to happen if this man goes down? What's going to happen if this girl goes down? What happened here? What happened there? I don't want to do that again. So let's enjoy this Remembrance Week and take it for what it really is, like it always should be, a reflection, a remembrance of those men and women that committed the ultimate sacrifice in the name of these freedoms, in the name of what we call Canada. I'm proud to be a Canadian, or at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died and gave that right to me. Men and women of all colors and creeds, of all nationalities, flew under the red ensign and flew under the red maple leaf. For what we have today, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, what are you willing to sacrifice if the time comes? I'm not saying a war is coming. I'm not saying there's going to be an onslaught of enemy troops on our shores or in our skies, but when you look at the way politicians and leaders alike, especially the past 6 years, have colluded and coerced and treated their own citizens, from our American friends to our British friends to our German friends, French friends, Australian and New Zealander friends, how many of our leaders have stood up to represent the little guys and the little gals out there who just want to go to work, who just want to do their own thing, raise their families, take little Billy to soccer and little Judy to dance lessons? How many of these politicians have looked out for that simple interest of letting people live their lives and go about their business? Not too fucking many. But I'm still forever grateful that I served with men and women in this country that were willing to fight for that and keep that spirit alive. Hooah. Like I say, ladies and gentlemen, if you like and hear what you see, please click like, subscribe, share this all around to your social media platforms. Right. Bit of a somber, crusty Canuck podcast today, but needless to say, I had to get the point across. It's Remembrance Week, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll be gainfully employed on Remembrance Day. Just the situation where I'm working and everything. It's hard to get the time off, but I'm allowed to reflect and to remember and respect those before me, during and after me. Right? I want to give a special shout out there too to the following serving members who have put their asses on the line these past 5 years with all the political strife and everything and all the BS that has come from our governments. Stand true, ladies and gentlemen. Stand high. Stand proud. There is light at the end of this manufactured darkness, and I am very, very grateful that I live in a country where I can try to fight and find said light. And I'll help you find the same too. All right. People look at some veterans to this day, and they just give us a different kind of look for some reason. Right? There are still people out there that look down on people that serve in our military and call us warmongers or apes or machines or sheep. Hardly. In Canada, you volunteer for the services. You're not drafted or conscripted. You volunteer. And regardless of how tiny our military is or how tinier it has become over the past 20, 30 years, it's still full of good people that care and give a royal shit about this country, which is nice. Anyway, this has been episode 156, ladies and gentlemen, of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. I'm back to the regular work schedule again. I will not be around in the next 10 or 11 days due to my work. But needless to say, I'll try to get episodes up, tidbits up. You can reach me via my community page on YouTube and my page on Facebook, too, under Crusty Canuck. Right? Links will be in the description where you can actually donate if you want to. You don't have to. I'm not going to force it on you. But I would like to make this a full-time commitment. And because of you, my wonderful audience, and the people that have stood by me thick and thin through the past 3 years, fucking awesome. I am very grateful to all my loyal fans out there who have said some kind words the past little while. Thank you very much. Like I say, if you like and hear what you see, please click like, subscribe, and share this all around. Don't forget to comment too, especially my YouTube pages, Rumble, Brightian, and on Wimkin as well. I load there. There will be links in the description for you to follow. But please don't be shy. Don't be shy at all. Please consider joining and being part of the podcast today. Your fan base means a lot. If you'd like to buy some merchandise, please consider buying merchandise as well through my Customized Girl link. I'll leave in the description for you to purchase there too. I do have a t-shirt and mug deal, but I'm not going to advertise that today. But needless to say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and effort this past little while. And if you do find yourself standing someplace around 11 o'clock by yourself on Remembrance Day, tilt your hat or take off your hat and just bow your head and remember for a minute. And think about those ladies and gentlemen that have given the ultimate sacrifice in the name of Canadian freedom. We still have a country worth fighting for, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it together. Let's unify. All colors, all creeds. It doesn't matter. That's what made this country great, was everybody coming together and celebrating what we have in this beloved Canada. Like I say, thank you once again for the fine feedback I've been receiving. And don't forget to hug your loved ones and do what you can to help each other out in these trying times to the best of your ability, ladies and gentlemen. Right? There is light at the end of this manufactured darkness, and we will win, period. So like I always say, do what you can for your friends and loved ones. And remember, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worth.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.